Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the Vet Method podcast, where we bring team training concepts to independent veterinary practice owners who want to grow revenues through a high-performance team. My name is Sanjay Mangavai, and I'm joined today by Nadina Cojocaru. Hi, Nadina, welcome.
Hi, and thank you for being here.
So, whereabouts are you today, Nadina?
So I live in Sweden. I'm born and raised in communist Romania, but moved to Sweden to work as a vet as a small animal vet for 10 years ago. And I currently work as a small animal vet part-time currently, and I'm working full-time as a life and weight loss coach for small animal vets.
Fantastic. So you're in Scandinavia somewhere in Sweden, and I would imagine the weather is pretty much similar to the weather in the UK. Kind of dismal weather a lot of the year, but at the moment it's getting nice and brighter and sunnier, and it definitely has an effect on my emotional well-being and things. So, and I'm looking forward to these barbecues and meeting friends and family again. Okay, so a little bit about Nadina. She is a small animal veterinarian, a professionally certified life and weight coach, and the host of the Weight Loss for Small Animal Veterinarians podcast. She has experience working as a clinician in small two-person clinics right up to chief of the emergency department hospitals with up to 70 employees. And she can coach in English, Swedish, and Romanian. Wow, Nadina, I bet that all keeps you very busy.
Yes.
Being a vet, a coach, a podcast host, and 3 languages, you make me feel a little bit inadequate. I think I'm busy sometimes, but you obviously know a thing or two about how to balance life and have a successful and fulfilled life. Yeah, good. Respect to you. So the title of the podcast is Tools for Vets Dealing with Emotional or Stress Eating, and we're going to talk all about that for the next 7 minutes or so. All right, Nadina, our time starts now. So question number 1. Who is your ideal client?
So my ideal client is a small animal veterinarian who wants to improve their quality of life and lower the stress levels in their lives. And I know the challenges, our ups and downs as a profession, and there is nothing that a fellow vet colleague might struggle with that I haven't seen or solved for myself or my coaching clients. And my business is called Vet Coach International because I've touched through my coaching people over 20 countries so far. And my clients have been from vet students, newly grads, to diplomates, from associates or relief vets or locum vets to multi-million-dollar vet practice owners. And every small animal vet is my client because we are all emotional eaters. We are all using food to deal with our emotions.
Absolutely. So it's basically vets across the whole spectrum of the veterinary industry, more or less. We're so busy working in often chaotic, stressful environments, so many distractions, and making poor decisions in our food choices probably. Okay, great. Perfect. That leads us nicely onto question number 2. What's the biggest problem your clients face, and how would you help them solve it?
So I help small animal vets to deal with stress in their lives without leaning into emotional overeating or stress eating. And when they learn the tools for doing that, as a desired side effect, which I love, on top of healing their relationship with food and emotions, they all increase their incomes while working less hours and are able to go home in time to their families, which is the part that I most love about the work that I'm doing with my people.
Fantastic. So you find that Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and the typical things that people experiencing while dealing with stress eating is, or how to know that we are stress eaters, is we become increasingly more resentful and righteous, and we are considering quitting our jobs or vet careers altogether. My people just use, to put our victim coat on us and start to blame, shame, judge. They judge their circumstances, they judge themselves, they gain weight, because we all know how our days look like, and we are stressed, we are using willpower throughout our days, and we are completely depleted of willpower when we are arriving at home. So we end up on the sofa in front of the TV with a glass of wine or multiple glasses of wine, and eating pizza instead of eating a healthy steak or some veggies with a salad. So that is usually the kind of symptoms that my people experience.
Absolutely. So you mentioned quite a lot in there. There's quite a lot to unpack, but what caught me initially was you said there's a relationship between the stress that people feel and their performance as a vet. So creating higher value work, etc. Then obviously working longer hours to compensate for that, etc. Okay, that's really interesting. Fantastic. Okay, question number 3, and I think you've covered a lot of that in question number 2, is what are the typical symptoms people experience? So you mentioned the stress, the blame, the victimization, etc. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I think what I see, and I've mentioned a little bit in the first sentence, is we become more righteous. When we are stressed, we have to be right. And righteousness and kindness are mutually exclusive. So there is no kindness present when righteousness is there. Every time we want to be right at any cost, kindness is not present. We want to be right about our treatment. We want to be right about our diagnosis, and we forget to be kind. And that takes a toll on our bodies, on our emotional well-being. And I usually ask my clients, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right or do you want to lose weight? Do you want to be right or do you want to make money as a vet? Because if your current belief is, I've tried anything and nothing helps, do you want to be right about that? Or do you actually want to be wrong about that and change your life?
Okay,
that stress that we feel when we want to be right, that might be a clue or a cue to realize that we are actually stressed when we want to make a point, when we want to be right.
So it's important to recognize those symptoms that you've been describing. This need to be right. Vets in general tend to be sort of perfectionist people, and I think that then relates to the stresses of having to do things, having to be right, like you say, and be correct all the time. So the first step, I would imagine, is just recognizing that that's what's happening to you, and as a consequence, you're overeating and eating the wrong foods, etc. Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
What are the common mistakes people make when trying to solve that problem? So they have this problem, but they obviously try and sort it out themselves rather than see someone like you.
Yes. So I think we have to begin with the basics. So I think we don't understand what stress means in veterinary medicine, what this word means. Because when we usually say, I am stressed, we think that we know what that means, but that's not true. And to give you a specific example from small animal veterinary medicine to understand what I mean, is like a pet owner calling in and telling you, my dog has diarrhea. I want a treatment. And you actually don't know what's the problem, because just diarrhea, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It might actually be constipated and just passes loose intestinal fluids through the obstruction, or it might have urinary bladder stones that are blocked the urethra, or a parasite infection, or a parvovirus, or whatever, you know. So just to understand what the heck stress means, we have to be able to understand that first, to be able to find a solution. And from my experience in working with my clients, when we say those words, I am stressed, stress means one of those 3 different clusters of emotions. And tell me if you recognize something of that, because the first is overwhelm and confusion.
Absolutely, yeah.
The second is worry, fear, anxiety, panic. And the third one is doubt, self-doubt, and imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
And so those 3 clusters of emotions have different solutions. So we have to understand what we mean by I am stressed. Am I overwhelmed? Because you have a solution. Am I in self-doubt? You have another solution. Am I worried about something? There is another solution. So those are the common mistakes. We put everything in a fluff, and we don't find the solution for our stress until we understand what is the actual problem.
So people maybe even recognize that they are stressed, but they obviously need help to discover what the underlying issues are behind the stress. Yeah, you know, those feelings. So, you know, you hit the right buttons, you know, and from a personal note as well, because, you know, I felt the overwhelm, you know, the anxiety. Certainly, I've been a vet for 32 years. Certainly, burnout was an issue for me, you know, but you don't recognize it. You know, the solution seems to be work harder, work longer, you know, which is what a lot of vets need to do. But obviously that's not what they need to do. Okay, fantastic. Okay, question number 5. What is one valuable free action that someone listening to this can implement that will help them with that problem? If there's some sort of thing that you can advise them.
Yes, I think the first step is to expect to feel stressed and to expect to feel one of those 3 clusters of emotions on a regular basis. So daily. So the first step is always to be aware that you will feel them. Don't fight their existence. So you are a perfect human being with a perfectly designed brain if you are experiencing them. Nothing has gone wrong here. So I will give you some example of thoughts that create overwhelm. So I have so much to do. I am overbooked again. I am running behind. I will be late again. My front desk people will be on my back again for running late. So those kind of thoughts will create always overwhelm, because the emotions are created by the thoughts we are thinking. They are not created by the facts. The fact that you have 10 patients in the waiting room in a ER doesn't create stress. The thoughts that you have about those clients or those pets will create the stress and overwhelm, because for me, having 10 clients in the ER, like, yippee, let's go. And for another colleague, they might create that kind of thought pattern that creates stress and overwhelm. So the second step is to find out the facts. What are the actual facts of what I have to do? And instead of thinking, I have so much to do, or I have a gazillion phone calls to do or to make. Just what are the facts? I have 3 phone calls to do or to make. I have 10 patients in the waiting room. My vet tech called in sick.
Okay.
You know, like cold facts, because that creates more grounding and to be able to take your brain from that spiral of negativity into the task in front of you. So refocus your attention to the task in front of you. That creates efficiency, and this is the solution to overwhelm. Indulging in those emotions, you know, confusion, self-doubt is not helpful. And to talk from my client's perspective, having a pit stop in the break room to eat 5 cookies won't save you time.
Absolutely.
You might drink some water, but don't eat 5 cookies because you will be more late.
And veterinary practices are renowned for having cookies and donuts. Sorry, so those were really valuable tips. You mentioned, first of all, recognizing that it's okay to feel those emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, to normalize that, because even I, as a life coach, I'm doing that for a living, and I check all the time with myself. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Okay. And I find myself in overwhelm on a regular basis, a few times every day during my vet days, and then I am again in overwhelm. Refocus. If I have a blood smear or a cytology to look in the microscope, Nadina, go back to the microscope. You won't save time if you are thinking about being late with the next patient. That is not useful. Just go back to the task in front of you, because we can do anything, but we can't do everything, especially not at the same time.
Yeah. That's an important point, because one of the things I tell new graduates in particular is, you don't have to know everything. It's okay not to know everything. The client just expects you to try and find out, Yes. And you mentioned the other bit after that was choosing your response, choosing your reaction to the situation. Look at the facts as they are, and not as the worst that they could possibly be. Like, I've got 10 clients waiting. I'm going to overrun. I'm not going to get home for dinner. Oh, I'm really tired. Etc.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And to accept that is a normal brain pattern. That is what saved our lives as a species until now. But like you said, we are perfectionists and we like to catastrophize a lot. So when we, instead of let's say another fact, I had a bad review on Google or whatever, and our brains will take that fact, one bad review, and we will be homeless under a bridge.
Right.
Our family will be destroyed. So I will lose my practice, I will lose my license, I will be homeless under a bridge. And I mean, come on. There must be something in between, and expect your brain to do that shenanigan with you. And make fun of it.
And I think perception is reality sometimes. So for you, that if you have those feelings, you start to feel the reality, and it's not really true. Like we said, you've got to look at the facts, and then take it from there. Fantastic. Okay, so we're getting on nicely. And on top of that, drink some water. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so question number 6. What is one valuable free resource that you can direct people to that will further help them?
So I will direct my people or the people who are listening to this, to my website, which is vetcoachinternational.com, and download the quick weight loss guide. That is especially designed for small animal vets. And it has the biology, some coaching tools, and some quick start tips to start your journey through weight loss and stop the emotional eating. And listen to my Weight Loss for Small Animal Veterinarians podcast for more brain science, biology, and coaching tools, which I love.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that for myself. I'll be downloading the guide and I'll be listening to the podcast, Nadina. Fantastic. And finally, question number 7. What's the one question, Nadina, that I should have asked you that would give some value to our audience?
I think that question is, what are your core values and why are those important?
Okay.
And my core values are freedom, especially freedom of speech, unconditional love for all the humans and animals on this planet, and having fun and ease. And why is it important to know our core values? Because this is an important exercise to make for your business, for yourself personally, because every time one of our core values is stepped on, we feel frustration, anger, resentment that we can't release, no matter how much mind work or thought work or how much we try to change our lenses about a circumstance.
Okay.
And I want to give you just a little example or a small example about that. If somebody would tell me, one of my core values is unconditional love, and I really, this is ingrained in my bone marrow and in my DNA. I love all the people on this planet and all the animals and the planet in its wholeness. Okay. And if somebody tells me that I am mean, that I'm unkind, or that a vet tech reported me that I'm mean,
right?
Even if I know that their words are the facts and I get to change my thoughts about their words, that doesn't work for me because that steps on one of my core values, and that is not my truth. So my wholeness will still feel frustration and anger and resentment about that sentence. And my solution to that is to rephrase or to reframe the wording, because I might be stressed, I might be overwhelmed, I might have been too direct in my communication with that vet tech, but I'm not unkind, I'm not mean, you know, because I have to stand up for what is true for me as a human being. And if we are not able to do that, or we are working in a practice that misaligns with our core values, that relationship won't work.
Okay, so it's really important to know.
So it's really important to know, to make this exercise, and there are a lot of resources online to discover what are your core values, and I am doing that with my clients as well.
Okay, so you're able to help people identify, because sometimes people, they'll have core values, but they can't put them into words necessarily. Yeah, so you would help people recognize what their core values are, so that if those values get violated, they'll know why they feel the way they feel. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
And they cannot change those feelings, no matter how they try, no matter how much they try to change their thoughts about those facts. And it's important to know, and it's important also to know that core values are fluid and they change in time. So sometimes we adopt some core values, and sometimes they are changing. But it's important to know because that will shape our businesses. It will shape our careers as vets, and it will be like a compass through our life.
You know, and it's not the kind of training that you get at veterinary school either. You know, those I could talk to you for hours about this topic, Nadina. It's so interesting. You know, there was yeah. I definitely feel that you can change the way vets look at their lives. You know, and you've got some very specific tools that you can help them with. That if they implemented them, if they adopted them, then it could make a difference in the way that they perceive themselves as veterinary surgeons, because you mentioned earlier that it helps them perform better. So if they sort this side of their life out, they'll be better veterinary surgeons, and they'll be working in practices that are just outstanding places to work. The two things that
Yes.
are in short supply, I think, in veterinary medicine the world over. Wow. Thank you, Nadina. Thank you so much. That was so useful. I'm sure our listeners are going to find that very valuable. And thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you.